Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a disruption that started in a doctor's office and is now completely rewriting the rules for the global economy. Seriously, what began with a prescription pad is now sending shockwaves through grocery stores, the fashion world, and it might even end up boosting global productivity.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we got to get into the science of it all. Then we'll look at how that science is basically creating a brand new type of consumer. From there, we'll map out the winners and losers, pinpoint a massive global turning point that just happened, and finally, wrap it up with what all this means if you're trying to invest in what's next. To really get a handle on the economic side, we have to start with the biology. Because this isn't just another fad diet, not even close. We're talking about a fundamental rewiring of our brain chemistry, and that, right there, is the key to all of its power. So these drugs are called GLP-1 agonists. They were originally made for diabetes, and what they do is pretty clever. They mimic a hormone our body already produces. This does a couple of things. One, it slows down your digestion, which makes you feel full for longer. But here's the kicker. It sends a direct signal to your brain that says, hey, we're all good here, which just dials down your appetite. And that brings us to this idea of food noise. I want you to think about that little voice in your head, the one that's always thinking about the next meal, the next snack, what's in the fridge. Well, GLP-1s basically put that voice on mute. And this is so important. It's not just about feeling less hungry. It's about being freed from that constant, impulsive, dopamine-chasing behavior that makes us reach for sweets, fatty foods, and even alcohol.
And please, don't think for a second this is some small, niche trend. We are way past that. We've already hit critical mass. In the United States alone, something like 12% of all adults have already used one of these medications. That's a biological shift happening at a scale that is absolutely big enough to send real shockwaves through the entire economy. So, you change the biology, what happens next? You create a totally new kind of consumer. And the data is clear. We're seeing this massive shift in spending, away from just buying more stuff and toward buying better stuff. This quote from PA Consulting just hits the nail on the head. It's not about counting calories anymore. When that food noise goes away, every meal suddenly matters more. People start asking, is this food I'm about to eat really worth it? Analysts are calling this intentional eating, a total move away from mindless snacking to mindful nutrition. And just look at the numbers. They show this dramatic shakeup in the average shopping cart. This isn't a tiny adjustment. We're talking a complete overhaul. Calorie and alcohol purchases are tanking, while things like lean protein and fresh produce, nutrient-dense foods are soaring. This chart right here, this is basically the blueprint for the new consumer. Let's dig into these hard numbers. We're seeing up to a 30% drop in daily calories. That is a massive shock for any company whose business model is built on selling volume. For decades, the whole game was to get you to eat more. This just flips that entire model on its head. And the impact on alcohol is, if anything, even more stunning. Consumption is dropping by as much as 75% for some people. Why? Because that reward-seeking drive in the brain just fades. But it's not all about cutting back. On the flip side, people are buying up to 80% more fresh produce. They're making fewer purchases, sure, but they're making those purchases count with high-quality, nutritious food. Okay, so this huge consumer reset is literally splitting the market in two. It's drawing a brand new economic map with very clear winners and very clear losers. And that dividing line is being drawn by biology itself. So on one side, you've got what we can call the impulse economy. Think snack foods, sugary drinks, fast fashion, and they're all facing a steep decline. But on the other side, you have the rising wellness complex, which covers everything that supports an active, intentional lifestyle. And this right here is the new battleground for investment. So the big takeaway here is that the biggest losers are companies whose entire business model relies on us acting on impulse. Snack makers, big alcohol companies, even the bariatric surgery industry. They're all at risk because the biological on switch for their products is suddenly being flipped to off. But of course, where there are losers, there are winners. And the winners are all riding this new wave of intentional living. Significant weight loss often means a wardrobe refresh, which is great for athletic apparel companies. It also creates all this new demand for skincare and cosmetic treatments. And think bigger, on a global scale. Healthier populations, especially in emerging markets, could unlock massive gains in productivity. Now, this whole trend was already huge, but it just got supercharged. One single event happened that flipped a switch,
taking this from a Western thing to a full-blown global disruption. This is the exact moment the Incretin economy went mainstream for literally billions of people. I want you to remember this date, March 20th, 2026, because on that day, the core patents for semaglutide, that's the key ingredient in Ozempic and Wegovy, expired in India and China. And that single event unleashed what experts are now calling the generic tsunami. What happened next was one of the most incredible price drops in the history of pharmaceuticals. In the US, these drugs cost close to $1,000 a month. In India, after the patents expired, generic versions hit the market for about $15. 15.
That is a 98% price drop. This is the catalyst. This is the event that sends the Incretin economy truly global, turning a luxury treatment into a mass market product for hundreds of millions of people overnight.
So, what does this all mean for the future? Where do we go from here? Well, it boils down to a fundamental change in the rulebook for basically every single consumer-facing business on the planet. You see, the old model was what you'd call volume at scale. Just sell as much stuff to as many people as possible. The new winning strategy is precision at scale. It's about targeting the specific functional needs of this new intentional consumer, not just blindly pushing more volume. What we're really watching here is the end of an economic era. The entire 20th century consumer world was built on impulse. The 21st century economy is now being rebuilt on a foundation of biological intention. And if you think this might just be a fad, the market projections tell a very different story. The global market for these drugs is expected to more than double by 2030, hitting somewhere around $200 billion. That tells you everything you need to know about the permanence and the scale of the shift. This isn't a trend, it's a transition. And so that leaves us with the single most important strategic question for the next decade. How do you reallocate your capital when impulse is being replaced by intention all over the world? Answering that one question is what's going to separate the winners from the losers in this new economy.